TourBox sent me their new TourBox Elite Plus for free to test it out. They said, try it for video editing or whatever creative work you do, and let us know what you think. And honestly, I didn't want to like it. I'm a shortcut nerd. I'm fast on a keyboard, like freakishly fast. I spent years mastering my DaVinci Resolve setup, so the idea of switching to a knob-covered box sounded like a downgrade. Mine came in this semi-transparent finish here, which looks really slick in person. And it's not just the aesthetic. The thing feels like a premium chunk of gear. Heavy, solid, tactile. Everything about it screams quality. Although it does make some weird noise when you squeeze it like this. So yeah, I gave it a shot. And pretty quickly I realized this is not just a toy. Because, let's be real here, this could be one of those old school controllers. The first thing I noticed when using the TourBox was the tactile experience. The dials feel precise, the scroll wheels have just the right resistance. The buttons all have unique shapes, so you can recognize them by touch easily. It's designed to be used with one hand, without looking. Compared to a keyboard, where everything is flat, the TourBox gives you physical orientation and some unique buttons and wheels. The layout took me just about 20 minutes to start getting used to, but once I got the hang of it, I understood what they were going for. Flow. Less thinking. More doing. That said, the default preset that ships with the TourBox for DaVinci Resolve didn't really click for me. It felt like it was missing a couple of functions I used regularly, and also I didn't really like the default mapping. Then I watched some YouTube videos from other creators to see how they were using their TourBox, and I realized how customizable this thing really is. I was really inspired and wanted to give it another try. And TourBox Central is where this thing really starts to shine. It lets you fully customize every button, dial, wheel, and combination down to insane levels of detail. You can assign individual keyboard shortcuts, stacks of keys, macros, mouse movements, you name it. And even better, you can combine inputs. For example, you can hold the side button to create secondary actions like this. That effectively doubles or triples the number of actions you can assign and makes the toolbox highly flexible. And within a few minutes, I had started building my own DaVinci Resolve profile from scratch. Now, because I am using a trackpad, I can do a lot of things inside Resolve and macOS that wouldn't be so easy with a mouse. Swiping through my timeline don't require me to use my keyboard at all, which in my case means that the TourBox needs to be adjusted for my type of workflow. And you can really dial it down exactly how you like it. It has so many customization options, you should be able to map all of your important commands to it without any issues. The more I used it, the more I realized TourBox isn't just a fancy controller. It's part of a complete creative system. There's the hardware, obviously, but also deep integration with creative software like Resolve, Photoshop, and Lightroom. It's not just about pressing buttons. It's about staying in flow across your whole creative stack. I wanted to make something that matched how I actually work. Fast, efficient, no fluff, just useful stuff. So I mapped my most used commands and created a highly efficient profile. I spent about 2 hours tweaking everything, and over the next couple of days I made some more changes to make it even better. And the result? It actually started to feel pretty awesome. Like a whole lot more intuitive than my keyboard, and especially the default shortcuts in DaVinci Resolve. Because let's be real here, who is using these? But before we continue, there are a few things that you should be aware of. The TourBox doesn't detect or read apps shortcuts. While it does have some built-in functions, it just sends a keyboard command in most apps, which can be a problem in certain scenarios. If you aren't using custom keyboard profiles in Resolve already, you should really check out my video here on how to become a faster editor. But if the toolbox sounds interesting to you, you might as well just stick around, because I think the toolbox has some real potential to make you even faster. If, for example, you have customized your shortcuts in DaVinci, Photoshop, or anywhere else, the TourBox won't automatically know. It will keep sending the default key combo, which might do nothing if you have changed it. They do let you search for functions by name inside of the app, but that's more of a UI trick. Under the hood, it's still just sending simulated key presses. So this is only really useful if you're using the default shortcuts in your app. You can, however, add custom names to any of your mappings to make them easily recognizable, even if you change the defaults in your app, which is what I've been doing so I can easily switch between my custom keyboard shortcuts and the TourBox. And there's something else that you should know if you're using a non-US keyboard layout like I am, because you might run into some additional problems. Some shortcuts just didn't work for me. Especially things like square brackets or special characters, because they're inaccessible on my keyboard layout. Turns out that's because TourBox is sending US layout keycodes, and my system interprets them differently. There are workarounds though, and you can remap things or assign alternate functions, but it's definitely something to be aware of. One feature that made the learning curve much more pleasing is the on-screen HUD. You can toggle a small window that shows all your mapped functions in real time. And when you switch profiles, it updates automatically. There's also an additional HUD for just the D-pad here, which I rarely use though, as you can see the commands in the general HUD as well. You can move it around, select the commands that should be visible and customize it to your liking. You can also quickly hide it by moving it towards the edge of your screen or disable it completely in TourBox Central if you no longer need it. Super helpful when you're still learning your layout or testing some new commands. What's up guys, Valentin from the editing room here. I was doing the finishing touches on the video, and then I thought, instead of talking about it, why not give you a real hands-on overview of how the app actually works, what kind of functions it has. So first of all, right now I am running a dev build. This is not currently public, but this one has a special feature inside DaVinci Resolve, which allows you to use the dials and wheels here for color grading. So you actually have haptic feedback, and I can quickly show you. So you can see once I hover with my mouse like this, there's this sort of outline on the control element. And then I can use this wheel here and this dial here. And you can see right now, this is really intense, of course, but yeah, you can go like this, and there is a slight delay. So my mouse takes a moment before it reacts. I think it has to do with the focusing of the element. So it needs to focus it before you can do it. So it's not completely immediate. It's nice to have something haptic. It is just more fun, you know, but I'm not sure whether it is as efficient as using my trackpad, because in that case, and right now, because it is focusing on it, it may be still a little bit slower than usual, but I am really precise here, and I don't feel like I do actually need something like that. But the rest of the stuff that I'm going to show you now is a lot more efficient, a lot faster, and something that video editors that want to improve their speed could actually find really useful. So let's take a look at that. And I will be enabling the HUD inside of the TourBox settings just so that you can follow a little bit easier. So right now that one is hidden. What is going on there? This is a beta version, so it could of course be a bug here. And this did not happen before. But let me quickly just close TourBox Central here. Now it is actually fixed. So I am getting the second row here because I have so many different options. It seems there's no way to increase the height, but that's no problem. We will continue like this, and I will paste that in. Let me just disable that part here. Okay. So to increase my efficiency in editing workflow inside of DaVinci Resolve, I thought about the most important functions and tools. And right now, what I came up with is, I think it's pretty basic, and I'm still fine-tuning it. I still don't have everything. But basically, this is 1 second, 1 frame. Then you can also go from clip to clip like this. But when it comes to actually cutting your footage, I do have the ripple start and ripple end here. And basically, when I press the side button and the left D-pad here, you can see it has trimmed everything. Now I click on play, and I have also done something interesting here, because when you press on play, you can actually rotate here and it will increase the speed, play back faster, and you can also go the other way around. So you can just turn around like this, and when you press play again, it will stop. So that's really, really nice to quickly go through your video or play back just a tad faster, like 2 times. What do we have here? 4 times, 8 times. Yeah, it depends. And you can also fine tune it in your settings the way you like. So this is basically the JKL keys on your keyboard. And then we do have our razor on the top D-pad here. And you can see I would go on like this and go on like this. I can also ripple right. And we do have these as well, which do not ripple. And we have our undo and redo buttons here. And also you can scroll like this, see the whole timeline like this. Or what I like to do is I do have my option key here, and this one is a little bit more precise. Although there is one caveat in DaVinci Resolve where when you play back your video and you use that, you can see it takes a moment and then it kind of works, but it is not as smooth as using this. So the TourBox, although this is not as precise where I want it to be in terms of zoom, it does work a lot faster. So that's really nice. Okay, then of course we do have our trim edit mode, which I have put on this small little button here. And when you press once, that's normal edit mode, press twice, and then you can trim like this. You can also continue like this and do this or do this. There's actually a lot of stuff to unpack here because I do have many different features, and you can see everything I've set up on the right here. Basically, I tried to give me as many options and make it as similar in terms of the functionality that I get from a keyboard as possible. Although, of course, I cannot type on the TourBox, which is my biggest disadvantage when using it, because I do add text quite frequently to my videos, and then I do still need the keyboard. And switching between that, I sometimes notice that I was then just using the keyboard like I always do. Perhaps out of habit, but perhaps I was realizing that I was just faster with it. Not sure, but that was my experience with it so far. So like I've shown you, we do have a couple more things here. So cutting is possible here. When I press the side button, I can also disable clips with the upper D-pad button here. And I do have my ripple delete here. So of course I can just ripple start or ripple end. I can make my cuts. I can enable stuff or disable it, and I can also select things individually thanks to the option key here and then disable that. And also if you don't have a horizontal or you do not have a trackpad and can scroll like this, you can just press the shift here and scroll with your mouse. That's also really nice. And when you press this button here, I do have some additional functionality. Let me just quickly show you a little bit more here or go back in this direction. So basically, when you press here, you can select either the left side of the clips or the right side of the clips. Or when you press on the D-pad, it will also select the clips above that track or all the clips on the left side and all the clips above it as well. So that is really cool because that allows you to like really quickly go ahead like this and move that. And now you can insert something here and also just quickly delete it if you no longer need it. We do also have, if for example, I want to add something, I press this tall button here and the C1, C2, and that are my in and out points. And now I have it on my timeline. I can delete it again. Perhaps I needed something like this. So you can see once you get used to it, it is really fast, and it's nice because it makes your learning experience a lot easier because you do not have to like memorize. On a keyboard, every key feels the same, but here everything has a haptic like feedback to it. Everything feels different. And you perhaps have noticed that the TourBox itself, it has that alien looking shape. So no key is like the other, and this is actually on purpose because they want you to use this without looking at it to be an efficiency boosting monster for you. So yeah, I can zoom in like this, I can do my cuts, I can go ripple like this. It is really fast and nice. But what about copy and pasting, especially attributes? I do have a couple of things in place here. So when you press the side key, which is shift, and you press this one at the same time, the tall button, it does actually copy your clip. And then you can just paste it, as you can see here. But you can also change something, like let's see, we change that. Now I copy again. And when I now use that upper button here, I can actually paste the clip attributes. And I do not even have to press apply with my trackpad here. I can just press the spacebar and it activates then. So this button, like I said, is for starting and stopping playback, but it will also work inside of the menu to confirm stuff, which is really nice. Sometimes when I need to be really precise, I do also move my clips just by 1 frame. And in that case, I have to highlight the clip. And now I can just press the tall button and move it like this. And also, if I need to change the order of the clips, I can press the small button here, and then I can rearrange easily like this. This is also really nice and saves a lot of time. And to be honest, I did not even know before like looking into all the different keyboard shortcuts that this one existed. But it feels so intuitive on the TourBox. I wouldn't really know how to make that work on the keyboard because my space is also quite limited there, and I do not want my left hand to leave the lower left corner of my keyboard because that's where most of my keyboard shortcuts are. And well, the TourBox has minimal hand movement, as you've seen so far, while the keyboard, of course, it has a lot of real estate and a lot of possibilities, but then you have to move and you can slip and perhaps not hit the right key, and that loses efficiency, that loses speed. You're not as fast because there's no like visual map as the one you have on the TourBox. And it is really easy to just work with the TourBox without looking at it because every single one of the keys feels so distinctive. But now that we've taken a look at DaVinci Resolve, let's just take a quick look at the TourBox console app again, and I'll show you what is possible here. So basically, you have your preset list on the left side. You can either export or import presets. TourBox has them on their website. Other users can upload their own presets and you can download them, add them to your preset list here, save some time. You can also add new presets. And if I create one, let me just type out test here. You can either select one of the existing presets. So for example, if we take a look at the DaVinci Resolve one, and I will quickly disable auto switch and disable the D-pad here. And now you can see this is the regular one. It is quite limited, so there's not a lot of stuff going on here, which is what I've mentioned in the beginning. This preset was not really giving me anything or any improvement in terms of efficiency or speed. I felt like my keyboard was much faster. But now that I do have my own preset in place, I do actually feel like the TourBox, if I use it over time, could outrun the keyboard in terms of speed. I don't know. If I don't have to type out anything and switch between the TourBox, then it works really well. If you just have to do your rough cut, for example, then the TourBox is really fast. If you're doing a lot of compositing or you're adding text elements and you need to type all the time, then the TourBox might not be so efficient. So if we take a look at the functions here again, let me just quickly show you what we have. So you have the haptic setting, which you can either set to off, weak, or strong. We also have our rotation speed, which basically means how fast or slow that frame reverse or frame forward actually goes. I felt like this was not really that beneficial because it was not affecting how things changed inside of DaVinci Resolve, but how much you have to turn it, for example. So it is more of a TourBox setting. It will not, like if you want to change how fast you zoom in DaVinci Resolve, this will not change how fast you zoom, but how much you have to rotate it before it activates each of those individual steps, if you know what I mean. In case of the knob here, we have our frame reverse and frame forward, of course, but for something like a press, it's just one function. And then you can select from either standard, which means when you press the button, it immediately activates or triggers the function. You have up or release mode, which means only when you release your finger or release the button again will it trigger. Then we have the repeat mode, which means it will send the action all the time. And we have a B mode, which could be interesting. I have not found a specific use case yet. I was actually trying to use it for play and pause. So basically I have to press for it to play, and once I stop, it will pause. You could use it for that, I don't know. So like I've shown you, you can just move something and it will quickly show you that specific function. And if we go at the very bottom here, you can see that there is a custom section where you can add things that are not natively in there. So for example, that double press on that small button here, it was not in there by default, but I can create additional functions. And at the moment, you can only combine 2 keys. I wish you could actually combine 3 and do something like this, but you can see it only recognizes that I'm pressing the small button and the C button here, and it limits the available options. But at least you can combine 2 things. I can save that, and now I can go in there and either do some keyboard shortcuts, some mouse stuff. Let me just show you. You can even combine things like Shift Option, left mouse button, right mouse button, mouse scrolling up, mouse scrolling down. And when it comes to the keyboard, you have this visual overlay here that you can use, or you could always just use your normal keyboard, press any button, and it will show you what is in there for that specific app in TourBox. Make sure to select the right preset to see the settings by default. And also, if you have changed any of your keyboard shortcuts, the description here will not match. So you could, for example, look for something like cut, and I have put this on Command X. I'm not even sure if that's a default one, but as you can see here, when I go there, I can rename that, and it will show up inside of DaVinci Resolve in that right side menu that you've seen earlier, which is really nice. Then we also have a couple of built-in functions, none for DaVinci Resolve at the moment, unfortunately, but we do have some stuff for Photoshop, like reset brush angle, brush size, brush darken, multiply, many different things here, content aware fill, which means that it is not actually sending a key command, but communicating directly with your app. And it is just safer because even if you change any of your keyboard shortcuts, it will still keep working. You can also adjust some system stuff, but I felt like, well, yeah, of course you can do it, but I am using the keyboard alongside the TourBox and have all of those options there. So I don't really need that. You can also change your presets or stuff like that. And the tour menu is actually really interesting because you can open it like a separate menu and then access additional functions from there. So what I was trying to do, I have not finished it yet, but I could basically go in here and add specific shortcuts, built-in functions, or even macros. So you see, I was working on a color node setup. I can create that macro, add it to the TourBox, and let me just save that even if it's not ready yet. And I will, let's just see, I will put it on here. So I will select that tour menu. And now let's go back into DaVinci Resolve, and I press that button. Now you can see I can select this function here and it will execute the actual macro, which is really nice because some functions that you cannot access so easily will be made easily accessible like this. And you can add multiple options to your tour menu as well. And inside the preferences, you can see how all of that works. So some apps actually allow you to adjust values with the knob here. You can execute it with the tall one, close the menu, or reset values with the small button. And yeah. At the moment, like I said, I do not have it set up, but we'll take a look at how macros work in just a second. So when it comes to macros, you do have a couple of different options here. You can add multiple actions, and these can either be a keyboard shortcut, mouse movement, button, scroll, drag. You can see there's a lot of stuff that you can do here. You can even click here, and now you put your starting position, press somewhere on the TourBox. Now put a delay on there. Let's just say, oh no, it's unfortunate. I cannot use the TourBox here. So you see, I have to use my keyboard again, which I have on my lap here. And then let's just say I want to go here and I can select the mouse cursor speed. And this one is actually dragging. And now that we've set it up, let's just quickly close. And then I press the macro button here. And you can see how it actually goes from there. and then returns to my initial position. And you combine that and do as many things as you like here. You can even type in text, which I find really interesting, because you could then use your TourBox to have specific presets, for example, and then you could use the tour menu again to access those. For that purpose, let's select our DaVinci Booster tour menu here again. So now, because I do not have the auto switcher on, I can use the DaVinci preset anywhere. I can press the button and you can see I have my color node set up. I know it makes no sense at the moment, but when I press here, it activates that specific macro. And it's really nice because it's so easily accessible. You can, of course, always add multiple macros and do something else here. You can even open files, folders, links, very interesting, and then do stuff based on that. We have a specific delay element that you can use here as well. So yeah, you can add as many actions, and you can also select how many times that will be performed down here. As you can see, the possibilities are pretty much endless. There's really a lot that you can do here. And especially when you combine macros or shortcuts, built-in functions with the tour menu, this can become a huge efficiency booster. You can also enable or disable the haptic touch in case you don't like it here. And like I've said before, we do have some experimental features like the virtual numeric keyboard for Photoshop here, so you don't have to use your keyboard. So yeah, you can see they're actively thinking about ways how you can forget about your keyboard completely. But like I said, some of it is not as nice as I thought it would be, and I still preferred my keyboard. Once I got my DaVinci setup working, I started wondering, what else can I use this thing for? A lot of people use the TourBox for drawing. I'm not a great artist, but I have a small Wacom pad, so I wanted to give it a try just to see what the fuss was all about. And honestly, it just made sense. Brush size, opacity, eraser, it's all there at your fingertips while your pen stays in your other hand. For beginners, it removes a lot of friction, and I feel like this might be the TourBox's actual purpose. When you're using a pen, the TourBox will make you feel right at home because you can control it so easily with just one hand. From the little time I've spent drawing with it, it really felt much more fun than using a keyboard. Oh, and you can also connect it to 2 Bluetooth devices at once and easily switch between your MacBook and an iPad, for example. Although there is currently no official support for Android devices, I heard that you can set up everything on your PC or iPad, and it should work on Android with some limitations as well. So when it comes to drawing, that's where I think the TourBox has its most potential. And I'm not an artist, but I feel like it is really nice to use here. And I can also zoom in. I can do some stuff here. Yeah, it's really interesting how you can use it because I can also increase my brush size. Let's perhaps select a color here, something like this. Let's zoom a little further, decrease the opacity and the hardness as well. So I honestly have no idea what I'm doing, just trying to show you what this could perhaps look like. This is so much fun. I don't know, I feel like a kid exploring a new toy or something. And the TourBox does actually look like a toy, like some old school controller, but it's a lot more than that. The reason I'm drawing a snail here is because my older son is a huge fan of a story that I made up about the so-called what is it actually called in English? It's a swirly corn snail, which carries corn on her back. I'm currently doing an audiobook for him that he can listen back to on his TourBox. I don't know. I don't know what I've been doing here. Just having a little bit of fun, you know. I think this one definitely belongs in a museum. Okay, I can also select the eraser from here and go like this, or if I changed my mind, I can undo. Also, if you press your side key here, you once again can see that it changes and gives you even more options. I feel like the standard preset here for Photoshop is also not the most ideal. The TourBox has more potential than what they are showcasing in their standard presets, because most of the buttons are not even being used. And I think there's also no tour menu here, which could work really well with Photoshop, with all those functions like the different filters and stuff that you could quickly select. Then instead of having to press your way through this, you can map the buttons on your TourBox any way you like. And the dials and knobs, you have so much flexibility with it that it doesn't really matter what kind of app you're using, as long as you know your way around the TourBox console app. Okay, so now that you've seen how everything works, let's continue with the video. I also tried using the TourBox to boost efficiency in non-creative tasks like emails, calendar, and other productivity tools. You can create macros with timed delays, multiple actions, and even mouse movement, but this is where I started hitting diminishing returns. A keyboard is still faster for most admin stuff, in my opinion. Perhaps because I'm just used to it, but especially if you switch between multiple apps a lot and need to type things out, it's just faster, I think. Or perhaps you need a little bit of time, and you would say the same about the TourBox. But from the little time I had with it, and I've been using it for about 3 weeks, I think the keyboard still has the edge for multitasking stuff. And unless you do the exact same sequence over and over again, it's hard to justify the setup time for small tasks. So while it can be used beyond creative work, I personally didn't find it essential there and prefer regular keyboard shortcuts instead. So after about 3 weeks of testing, here's where I landed. The TourBox Elite Plus didn't replace my keyboard, but it did earn a permanent spot right next to it. For creative work like video editing and especially drawing, it adds to the creative experience and gives me the kind of control that feels natural, fluid, and more fun than a regular keyboard. And while I don't reach for it out of habit yet, I really enjoy using it when I do. The motor inside that thing that is responsible for the tactile feedback is just amazing. It's just so satisfying to use. I'm sure though it's not for everyone. If you're not doing heavy creative work or don't want to build your own profiles, it might not click, or you may be better off with just a good keyboard. But if you love tweaking your workflow, mastering your tools, and staying in flow, this thing might just surprise you. I'll leave links to the TourBox website if you want to buy it and support my work. That said, I do earn a small commission and your support is highly appreciated. Thanks to TourBox for sending it over, and thanks to you for watching. Well, catch you on the next one. That's my thumbnail right there. And now join me for 30 seconds of TourBox ASMR.